In association with Pro Advisor Coach, Coach Nick and myself, Coach Josh, welcome Sasha Sadri to this week's episode of Truth Seekers. Sasha originally hails from California and now is building his own coaching practice out in Belgium. Excited to have an international coach join us today on this week's episode of Truth Seekers. Of course, you can find us at proadvisorcoach.com and anywhere you watch your podcasts. Our channel on YouTube is #TruthSeekers, and on Apple Podcasts, Truth Seekers with Josh and Nick. Stick around. Sasha shares where you can find him on social media, and here's our first question regarding what Sasha has been building and what has led him to this path to serve people. Enjoy the episode.
I wanted to show people that I could do entrepreneurship coming from a place of kindness and empathy, right? Because I was kind of like getting burned out working in a corporate environment. And I said, you know what? I'm going to prove people that it doesn't have to be dollars first. It could be people first, right? So that's just like a little preface, a little backstory, a little context there. I said, okay, I want to do this. I want to start this business. How can I start coaching people? I said, let me just figure out what I'm good at, what I've experienced myself, tap into my personal experiences and my own transformation. And I started helping people. I jumped online, I jumped on Instagram, I jumped on Twitter, and I literally asked, hey, what are you guys struggling with? I know nutrition, I know health, I know mindset, because I had to overcome all of those to a crazy degree, right? So that's what kind of got the party started, I guess.
What sticks out for you most, Coach?
Well, that last part was what got the party started. I love it. People first. I got to prove to people that you can do this entrepreneurship thing in that way. It doesn't have to be the dollars first. It sings to us, Sasha, because I think that's primary focus. Like our belief is that it always has to be people first. Anything sustainable has to be people first. For sure. What's the thing? If you would share with us, what's the catalyst that kind of drove that moment, that decision?
It was working at my last corporate job, and I should mince my words here. I should be careful a little bit, but I'm not gonna, so I don't really care too much about people's opinions if they, don't align with, if they're doing different things, that's up to them. Everyone gets to live their life the way they want to. But this is how I decide to live, and I'm going to be transparent and open because that's just my style. So what was the catalyst is when COVID hit and all these companies got hit with it, and they started treating their employees like cash numbers. I don't know how to describe it accurately, right? Like, it's just, okay, like, what is our ROI right now? What's our situation? How do we manage to stay afloat? I get all of that. Business is business at the end of the day, but there's still a human element to business. And I saw things in the company that I was working with that I really, really didn't like. And I was like, I don't have to stand for this stuff. I wasn't being affected. I didn't get fired, but the way they were treating people was like, nah, man, this is not me. This is it. This is a sign that I have to go and live aligned with my values, my future goals, and just what I'm good at. And I wasn't doing that in that situation. I was like, all right, this is it. Let's go. So I took my savings. This goes against all the advice that Money Twitter spews every day. I took my money, whatever savings I had, and I bet on myself. And it's paid off to some extent, but it's still very risky. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Just stay in your job. Don't be impulsive like me. Stay in your job and then do the smart thing. But I went another route, and it's paying off for me. I was able to land a couple of clients, not to a degree where I'm like, oh, I'm super comfortable right now. Again, full transparency. That's my brand. But I'm loving every single day. You know what I mean? It's I can't wait to wake up tomorrow morning at 5:30 to get started again, because I'm living in alignment. And that means so much. As you guys know, I've checked you guys' previous episodes, and it's yep, the guys will know what I'm talking about 100%. So that's a little insight into that.
Yeah, the corny adage is love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. But
Mm,
there's so much application, right, to what we do. And I feel the same way, Sasha. Like I love talking to, I'm people first as it is. I'm just Josh Greco. That's who I am. That's what I care about. So to be able
mm,
to find something where I can exercise that and get paid for it to bring value to other people and help them, like you say, understand what you've been through and help others navigate that too. I think that, I just talked about this morning, is that uh, our MBA, our master's in business, is going through life and failing and figuring things out that way. So there's
for
no
sure, Mo.
there's no substitute for that. And you find that to be true?
Absolutely, man. And again, like I want to stay away from like the cliche self-help book stuff, but there's so much truth and so much value in there at the same time, right? So I totally agree. It's without that pain, without those struggles, I would have never been able to tap into something greater. I would have just remained Joe Schmo and settled for being mediocre and average. And that's fine. Like people, because it's getting challenging, if I can be completely honest, it's getting challenging now, like connecting with my normal friends, if you will, that are just stuck in the rat race. And they acknowledge that they're in the golden cage, but it's getting really hard to connect because we're talking different languages. We both speak English, or like Dutch in my case, but we're speaking different languages.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, it's just a different purpose. It's a different calling. It's like really like a calling, and I want to show people like, hey, I believe in you. Why don't you? Like
Yep.
that's a big one for me. Like I want to show people because again, a lot of backstory. Like I'm a brown person growing up in California and in Belgium. In California, no problem whatsoever. But in Europe, a lot of prejudice, a lot of racism, discrimination. And I let that victim mentality dominate my life for a long time. But then I
Mm.
snapped out of it like a year or two ago. And I want to be kind of like, I guess it sounds very snooty, like a role model to all the little brown kids here that don't have much. Like, I didn't have much growing up, to show them like, look, there's other ways to go about life. You don't have to do the things that, the previous generations did. Because I want to make it big. Like, I'm not talking about like, oh, I want to, have a client a month, like the current rate right now. Like, no, I'm talking massive ambition just to have a platform that creates culture. I'm not in the coaching business. I'm in the business of creating culture. You know what I mean? And I'm sounding probably a little hyperbolic here, but that's just who I am, I guess, at the same time. So
That's awesome, man. I just have to touch on, the belief part of it. Like one of the foundations of where I coach from is that I believe in my clients mostly more than they believe in themselves.
mm,
And that's changed from like, I believe in you more than I believe you believe in yourself, just because of the people that I'm working with tend to believe in themselves quite a lot. And there's always more, right? To your point. So it's adjusted depending on who you're working with, who you're talking to. But sure, like that's the baseline, right? And I love the way you put it. It's like, I believe in you. Why don't you believe in you? Like that's so cool to come back to. And also to know, like, as you've broken out into this different area for you, created a new environment for yourself. You referenced how tough or challenging it can be talking to your quote unquote
mm,
normal friends. Just you, because that's the different environment, right? They're operating in different circles, and it's not good or bad. It's just different. It's just that the acknowledgement that it's to show that you're playing on the game on a different level. Not bad or worse, like well, bad or good, just different. And so for you, it's better because that's what you want to do. But it's interesting to see, or I think for people listening to notice that like some of the themes of what you've done, like taking the pain and of seeing that and then making a jump, right? Taking on that risk. You said you wouldn't advise it, but you know what? Like it's part of your process, and it might be the same for someone else. Others might like have a different like constructs in their life, right? And allow them to take more time. But you took what you needed to take, right? Like you took the leverage, and good for you, man.
absolutely.
First things first, right? Like just remind yourself like how cool that is. You did that. You did do that. You took it. There are a lot of people that like don't just go through their whole life, so feel some of that pain and then just kind of squash it and then go, just get back to comfortable and then just be comfortable for the next 20 years.
Absolutely, brother. That was in the back of my head every single day, where I was like, okay, what am I going to remember? And again, this is borderline cliche, but what am I going to remember when I'm 89 years old and I'm lying on my deathbed? Am I going to be grateful or happy that I stuck it out at the job? And I was like, oh, thank God I got that paycheck, back in 2020. Or I'm going to regret not pursuing my gut instinct and not pursuing something greater. And I figured, well, let's take a chance and let's see what happens. And there's definitely no regret so far. It's just, I don't have all the answers. I am figuring things out on the fly. But I'm very open, and I'm building in public, like on my social media. I let people know, like, if you come to me, I will coach you strictly based on my own experiences. I'm not gonna, get out of what do you call it? Like, step outside of my zone, if you will, and talk about, I don't know, like NLP stuff. Like, that's not me. I'll talk about the things that I know personally, how I did it. If you want to lose 50 pounds, if you want to stop being negative, if you want to, turn negative into positive, become an optimist, like, I'm your guy. So sticking to my experiences again.
It's cool to hear, right? Because of how relatively recent this was for you, Sasha, and for you to share it and know that people listening, that like you reflected that you're not done yet. Like, and we're never done anyway, but you're not like done. You're still in that place where you're figuring it out. You know what? Yes, and we always are. But just to know that, like, regardless, it's the right thing. You knew it was the right thing. Like, as soon as you made that leap, it's
For
good.
sure.
And there's always going to be more to do. So it's so interesting to hear that point, and that, like, how relatively new it is to for anyone else that's listening to this and thinking about, like, what can I do? They're thinking about, like, the jump to the ultimate success of that next version of themselves. But it's so iterative through that process. But just to hear you say that, regardless, after the jump, it's good, right? There's loads more, but it's good. So I'd love to hear if you would share it. You said you want to build a culture. If you were to, paint a picture in a timeline that we, arbitrarily, maybe a year or years two, like the two time, what does that look like? What does that look like for you?
Tough question, but if I base it on, my little journaling and my visualization work that I do very regularly, this year and then, the next year is just about helping as many people as I can, just to get, just to build up the platform, right? Just to build up the platform and to be able to reach as many people as possible while I'm building my online real estate. Think of it as like buying houses and buying mansions and resorts in the digital space. That's what I'm doing while I'm, let's be real, generating income and paying my bills and helping more people, serving more people, not selling to them. I never want to sell to people. I just want to come from a place of service, right? Then, it's about scaling through, probably group programs and that kind of stuff. As soon as I, like, even the money that I get in now from the coaching, I'm investing into media. So whether it be video or pretty soon like podcasting, I'm investing it. And because I know where I want to go, and like I said, I want to get into like the media space. I want to, like, Sasha Sadri brand to be something. It's not going to be Sasha Sadri brand, but it has to represent a culture of non-victimhood, of empowerment, of inclusion, but staying far away from all the, no offense, all the 2021 woke culture kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's an emphasis on the power lies within you. Like, you have all the tools you need, everything, all the answers you want, they will come from you. So that's kind of where I'm going with the media company vision, empowering people to be the best possible version of themselves without having to rely on external factors like mainstream media, government, welfare, that kind of stuff. just showing people the way, like another way, really, through media. So we'll see how that goes, man. That's something that drives me. That's something that wakes me up in the morning and pushes me forward. So
it's cool to hear that. One coach that principle that coach and I talk about so much is the clearer our vision is and the more we can define it, the easier it is to define the actions that it'll take to get there, right? So
right.
And that's a superpower, right? But that's something that can be developed. You learn how to do that. Like, oh, I'm not just living my life from day to day. Let's be intentional about the future we want to create. And then all of a sudden we're creating it. We're actually living for something that's bigger than us, that feels purposeful. And that's why, then it gets exciting to get out of bed in the morning. Instead of just waking up like, here's another day. I have a purpose to live out today. I'm excited about the day I have scheduled for myself.
Wow. Yeah, absolutely. That's so true. And that really resonates with me too, because I see it, like I have it up here on my walls. Like I look at it every single morning, and I know it sounds woo-woo and fluffy to people outside of our business, outside of our realm. This kind of stuff is where people disconnect. But if they were to just give it 1 week, 1 day, 1 month, you would notice, you would see how much of an impact it can have. So that stuff changed my life. And yeah, whoever I work with, people I work with, they're always like, oh man, like it's just a different game suddenly, right? Because when there is intent behind your decisions and your actions, it makes things so much easier. Like if you're chasing something vague, like, hey, I would like to be successful by 2025, guess what? The vagary is going to kill you. Like you're not going to last. Like, let's be real. Not trying to be a dick, but that's just how it is. If you know, like, okay, by 2025, I need to have this many, I don't know, subscribers, this much monthly revenue, you can start breaking it down into actionable items, reverse engineer what skills, what things you need to learn and pick up on or improve on, and boom, you're up and running. And every day is just, a good one. So I totally feel you on that one.
Sasha, I got to ask, if to go back to the, you say woo-woo and fluffy, if you don't get it, like can be for sure, right? Because people want something to grab hold of. So what would you share? Right? So if whoever's listening to this, watching this, and they're thinking, right, I hear what you're saying, Sasha. Like I like where your energy comes from. I want a taste of it. Like, let me experience what, like if they just did this for a day. So what would you say to those people? What will be something specifically that they could do to experience that feeling, to get it?
So something that people would kind of define as fluffy, but was actually really valuable. Okay. So we talk about goals a lot, right? And it's cool. People say like, yeah, I know what my goals are. But then when I'm working with people, I ask them to do this, right? And like, surely you guys have seen this and heard of this, but it's like, okay, write down the 5 goals that you're pursuing currently. Well, I want to do this. I want to have this car, and I would like a bigger house and increase my, my salary. It's like, okay, then so that's 4 goals. I asked them, hey, right next to it, write down where it comes from, that particular goal. Like, do you know the root of it? Go back. Like, is that coming from your mom? Like, why are you trying to be an engineer or a doctor or a lawyer? Is that you? Was that you at 18 years old really deciding consciously and rationally, I want this and I need this? Or was it someone else, right? Write down the origin story or like the root of that goal. And if you see that list, scratch off all the ones that aren't truly yours, and then pursue the ones that are actually yours. You will live more aligned suddenly overnight. You'll be like, oh, wow, the bigger house, that wasn't for me. The lawyer job or whatever, the bigger paycheck. I mean, oh, this is my true goal. Okay, let's go pursue that. So that's just one of the things that I see helps a lot.
Yeah, a word that comes to mind is alignment. I'm picturing we're just walking up to this oasis and we see all these peaks of mountains everywhere we look. we can climb and work to climb any mountain there is. What's one worth climbing? To where when you really get to the top, you don't want to go down the other side and go climb another one. But more and more peaks keep appearing on this mountain that is your favorite mountain to climb. I think why that exercise is so powerful, Sasha, is because I think it's difficult in the beginning to separate those things from what society expects of us, or, and this is specific to me that I've experienced, our loved ones have expectations for us that are not necessarily aligned with what we actually want. So sometimes that's a little bit more difficult to separate because we care so much about these people who have expectations for us, and it's born out of love. It's born out of a place of wanting us to succeed and to be happy. But we can only know that for ourselves. That's only an answer that we can be true to ourselves. So to go through that reflective process is probably so powerful, to kind of separate and let the actual stuff rise to the top.
Absolutely, man. It's powerful because not pursuing the wrong goals will mess up your life in a big way. Like, I'm speaking from experience here. I wanted specific things, pursued particular goals, not for me. I just wanted to impress others, and I wanted the external validation so desperately because my self-esteem wasn't developed, right? I didn't have the respect for myself. I didn't know necessarily who I was. You know, the self-awareness wasn't there. So what did I do? I started pursuing goals, and only because of perception, because I was addicted to external validation. So it's super powerful, and you have to get that list in order. Like, your list of goals, your actual true goals, is really powerful. So yeah, I definitely agree with that one.
We got to start to wrap up here. I feel like we could talk for hours on this stuff. There's so much more content to go through here.
we could do this for a long time. You're right.
Yeah, maybe we'll have you back. We got to have you on a future episode.
Would love to.
And you mentioned starting your own, so I don't know if you're gonna have guests, but Coach Nick and I will line up.
There you go. You know it, man.
But what I wrote down was, so you mentioned like staying away from the external validation. What I wrote down was internal validation. Like, what validates you internally, and only you know that. But why that's so powerful is because it has no bearing. The external validation does not have any influence over you. And I think sometimes that even naturally follows when you're following your own intuition. I think people respect and can notice genuineness. And if they see somebody pursuing something that's really important to them, even if right out the gate it doesn't make sense or you don't get that external validation, you know to continue because it feels right to you. And then everything else follows after that. And that's just the gravy, right? But it's more of like being okay with, even if you don't get that external validation, it's purposeful and meaningful to you. And that's all that matters. So that's my takeaway today. You know, just be internally guided with your goals, where you're headed. And then that's where that alignment comes in. So
amazing. That's perfectly put, brother.
Yeah. So how about you, Sasha? Something, maybe sum up just one principle or topic or something that, you know, somebody who's watching can embody or or that's going through similar things that you're taking away from this call.
Whew. One piece of advice I would give people is, honestly, if you're stuck and you don't know where to start, the best way to move forward in life is to find people to help. If you find someone to help, I don't care what it's about. Like, figure out what you're good at. I don't care if it's grooming dogs or cooking Taiwanese food. It doesn't matter. Like, go find people online. It's 2021. Like, you speak English. If you're watching this, you have the internet. Let's go help people online. Like, go to forums, go to whatever, Twitter, Instagram, help these people, answer their questions, and life will show the path. Like, it's that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. That's what I did. I get people to pay me a couple of $1,000s to work with me now. Like, it's insane. And I was you, right? Like the viewer right now, if you're watching this, like, I was you. There's no rocket science here. You start from a place of service and you help people. That's it. Once you help people, everything will fall into place. I promise you.
Beautifully said. Coach Nick, takeaway from today.
Just to underscore that point, Sasha, thank you very much. Yeah, it's focus on what you can do in terms of service to others, right? And you've got the outcome is not even defined, but you're focusing on your actions and you're focusing on others, and then the outcome will be defined just by that action itself. You create that, as you said, the universe will show you that. I think it's so important.
Simple as that.
Also, yeah, and also to say, just to Coach Josh's point around climbing the mountains, right? Choose the mountain you want to go up. Just to know that whatever you do, it's going to be a climb. Right? If you're looking for an easy way out, like I don't like what I'm doing, there is no easy way out. I don't think that's the game to play. The game to play is just like choose. There's always going to be a climb. There's always going to be weather in the way. There's always going to be, some cold spots, and sometimes it might be a bit slippery. It's always going to be the case. Just make sure you're climbing the mountain that you want to climb.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I just want to say the fact that fear is so feared is ridiculous. So next time you're feeling fear and it pops up, just know that's exactly where you should go. If your instinct is telling you, or like your feeling is telling you, don't go there anyway. Please, it'll pay dividends.
Fear is the quickest way to get what you want, right? It's the universe showing you what's on the other side, or what could be on the other side of that. So that's what it's all about.
Exactly true.
Love it. Sasha, awesome conversation. Really appreciate you joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys.
How about a little plug? Where can we find you online, or Twitter handle, whatever you want to share with the viewers? Where can we find you?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at Mindset Sasha, Instagram, same thing, Mindset Sasha. On YouTube, it's been around for like a month and a half, 2 months now, Sasha Sadri. You should find me. So that's, yeah, you'll find me there. I'm just one DM or one email away at all times. So look me up, get in touch with me. I love connecting with people and getting to know people. So
people first, baby. Love it.
Exactly.
Well, yes. Thank you for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Josh, Nick. Really appreciate you guys, and I'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Take care.
Guys, have a good day. Peace.